Hi, 7th and 8th graders. This morning was definitely a learning experience for myself, but also probably, I hope I'm not alone, some of you. Um, I definitely had some technology difficulty because my computer was having some issues, wasn't charging, so I was on my cell phone. But then also in the afternoon, not like the afternoon, but in the fifth/sixth hour, we were having a little bit of internet downtime at the middle school. So if you were in that class and that was really frustrating for you, I apologize. Dang, I'm glad that we can hopefully move on from that and learn from it and just be better tomorrow. Now, right? I'm going to share a little bit of my presentation or my notes that I shared in that little Zoom call with each of you. So if you were there and you heard my spiel, probably don't have to listen to this. If you were not there or you were there but we had technology issues, I would like for you to listen to this short video and follow along with the notes that I have on the screen for you. Okay? So these are some just digital learning expectations. I tried to kind of brainstorm how can you come prepared to the class? How will you enter the class? How will you participate throughout the class? And then how will you leave the class? So on this slide, it says before you arrive. Honestly, these first four are things that you can try to do ahead of time so that way you feel confident and ready to move into our class. So number one, it says be sure to have your iPad charged for the class period, your whole morning really. Number two, it's your responsibility to come to the school day with enough battery in your iPad to function. Number three, if you have concerns about charging, communicate with your parents or your guardians or communicate with our technology department so that way you can get situated with a charger. Okay. Number four, have a nice little setup for yourself close to the charger or plug in. Have some paper, have a pencil or pen, have your planner next to you, have a clean, organized space to concentrate. Okay. Next, you're going to notice, oh good, I wanted to make sure we were still presenting. Okay, next, this slide is when you arrive. So when you join our Zoom call from Google Classroom, there's a couple of things that you'll notice. Number one, it says Scoozy's gonna admit you to our Zoom call. Number two, while you're being admitted to the call, Scoozy will be taking attendance, then recording that attendance into Skyward. Number three, and this might frustrate you, but it just works when you're a group of 50 people. Number three, it says you'll be muted upon arrival. Okay, so there will be moments where I ask if you have a question, you can raise your hand with a little like hand raiser, or you can type in our chat box that you have a question, and so on. Number four, it says come prepared. Go potty. Have items that you need for class ready. Do that ahead of time. That should probably be on the before you arrive, right? Communicate with your family that you'll be on Zoom calls with your teacher and classmates and cannot be distracted. Last year, I'd have some students, their parents would be like, hey, so and so, change the garbage, like take it out. And then the kid would be like, oh my gosh, like I'm on a Zoom call. And the parent was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Just communicate what you're going to be doing, how you're going to be spending your time so that no one feels like they have to interrupt you. This next slide, it talks about while you're in our Zoom call, while you are here. Number one, you are going to remain muted during the direct instruction time so we can function as a big group of learners. Because, like I mentioned, some of my classes will have 50 plus people in them, you need to be able to understand like this is a big group of people. Scoozy's trying to facilitate learning for all of those 50 plus people. So if there's times where your question doesn't get answered within the first 5 seconds or even first few minutes, please be patient. Okay. Number three, If you're prompted to do something, research this or brainstorm this or whatnot, participate. Do that. Like if I'm asking you to take notes, take those notes. If I'm asking you to answer a question in the chat box, answer the question in the chat box. Okay. Number 4, it says questions. Either write a specific question in the chat box or write in the chat box, I have a question. When it's appropriate for me to unmute you, I will do so and you can ask your question. So that kind of brings me back to the chat box. With some of my classes today, there were a few students who felt like it was more of a way to communicate with other students, like in a silly way. I want that chat box to be only used for intentional class purposes. So if you have questions or a comment that is centered around our actual content, then you should use a chat box. I don't want it to be, what up, bro? Like, no, you can ask your friend that later on in the afternoon during your workshop time or even at the end of the school day at 3:05. Okay? Another thing that I was just kind of thinking about is your teachers are not going to want you to write on their screen. So you're putting arrows or you're drawing a little stick figure or you're writing words. They're not going to want that, okay? Because they're trying to lead a big group of people to make progress in their learning. Okay, so these are just like standard operating procedures of being on a Zoom call. Next, still while you are here, it says stay for the entire Zoom call. Scoozy will excuse you when it's time to leave. I was paying super close attention to the time today, and I wanted to make sure that each of my students got to their next class on time. So when class is supposed to be done at 9:30, I'm wrapping up and I'm saying, bye guys, have a great day, see you tomorrow. Okay. Number 6, it says be present and actively thinking or reflecting about the topics we're discussing. Being present. Number 7, know that you have workshop time in the afternoon to complete learning evidence. Now, when you're in your Zoom call, is the time to be with me, your teacher, and your classmates for direct instruction. So don't work on your math assignment when you're in a Zoom with us. Like, be present. Working on whatever we need to be working on in social studies, like our direct instruction shenanigans. This is my last slide that I'd like to share with you. It says, when you depart. Number 1, I want to make sure that you know I respect your time. I'd like you to respect my time as well because my next class is going to be coming into my Zoom call in 10 minutes. So for me to navigate ending a class and starting a class, I need a little bit of time to kind of regulate my brain, maybe I got to go to the bathroom and then come back. So really just be aware of when the class is finished, we'll have to kind of move on to the next class. Later on in this slide, I talk about questions or if we need more one-on-one support. Okay. Number 2, it says reuse this Zoom meeting link each day. So it's saved on Google Classroom. You'll be able to click into that link each day. It's a reoccurring meeting. So then you don't have to worry about, is there a new one? It's always that same meeting link. Number 3, it says email questions to Scoozy or ask directly on Google Classroom. So at the end of the day, if you're like, or at the end of our class period, you're like, oh, I didn't get to ask my question, and oh my gosh, you can definitely email me and say, Mrs. Scoozy, during the Zoom call today, I wasn't able to ask a question, or I just thought of a question. Can I ask you that now? Absolutely. Okay. Number 4, it says sign up for office hours with Scoozy. So soon enough, I'm going to be loading a Google Sheet onto Google Classroom, and I want to make sure that you have access to that and you'll be able to sign up for office hours each day with me. I'll make a little video about that later. Number 5, it says just make good choices of how you spend your school day, be productive. This is a great chance for you to show your independence. What better way of saying I'm here on time, I'm ready, I'm working on my learning, like I'm an independent young learner. How awesome is that? So I'm going to click out of here. I'm going to make sure that you, I guess if you want to rewind and rewatch, definitely feel like you can do that. Otherwise, if you have questions, you can email me or you can ask them on our Zoom call tomorrow. Okay? I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and I'm sorry if today was really frustrating. It was tough. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.